Okay, so I'm going to show everybody how to set up an Excel budget, Microsoft Excel, from scratch. So I just opened up a worksheet and notice the columns A, B, C, D lettered across the top, and these are the rows on the left hand side 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through to essentially infinity. But one moment. Okay, so let's just start off by naming this budget, and we'll call it monthly budget. You could just type that in, move it over to accommodate the space for the wording. All right, now what you want to do is go in cell B1 and type in first third of the month. Cell C1 will be second third of the month. Move that over to accommodate. Cell D1 will be third. You can put a 3RD, third of the month. Okay, and that'll become apparent why I do that in a moment. First, let's outline what your budget might entail. So you have things like mortgage or rent. Okay, you have gasoline expenses. Okay, we'll just put gasoline. How about utilities? Right. We can put any type of debts that you might have, like credit cards. Okay, so you could put credit card or anything that might be debts. How about tithing? Tithing is important, at least for me. How about daycare? That's a huge one. If you have a family, it's probably important for folks who are considering having a family to understand how to build a budget in Excel before you begin to build your family, because it's incredibly important later on when you do have a family to really keep focus on your finances and to manage your health and wealth and well-being. So this is a good start. We'll just start with some of these things. Now you want to go down to cell A19 and put amount in bank now. So cell B19 will actually be the amount that's currently in your bank now. And we'll put, I don't know, we'll just say that we're starting off with $1,000. So put 1,000, hit enter, and notice that it's still just a number without the currency. You can actually change all those cells by left clicking and dragging over the cells, right clicking, formatting cells, and it'll pop up eventually. Let's see, select currency, okay. And now all the cells within that highlighted group that you selected will reflect a monetary amount now. Let's go back to the mortgage or rent and just put $1,250. I don't know what it actually is for you. This isn't even what it is for me, but I'm just putting in a sum just for sake of clarification here. Now, I divide the month into thirds, and here's why. Typically, I get paid on the 15th and 30th. From the 1st through to the 15th, I consider a lag period, because remember, on the 30th of the previous month is when I'd been paid. So it'll become clear why I'm doing this in a little bit. But let's move on. So the amount in the bank now is 1,000. Okay, somewhere over here and say like H18, you can put something like by monthly pay. Okay. By monthly pay. And then you'll insert the amount that you actually do get paid. Okay, that cell wasn't formatted. I'll just quickly format that cell to currency. And let's finish up the expenses real quick. So gasoline, I want to allocate about $250 for 2 different vehicles in my family. Utilities, about, let's just say $500. Debts and credit cards, I'll put $1,000. Actually, $750. Let's just start off with that. And that's, remember, just the first third of the month. So that's the 1st through the 15th. The 15th actually begins this second third of the month. And then the 30th begins the third third of the month. I know there's only 1 or 2 days for the third third of the month. It's not exactly equal. It doesn't matter. It depends on when you get paid. That's what's most important. So tithing, you could just put 100 for now. And this is just for sake of showing you guys how to set this up. Daycare, let's just put 600. Like I said, I don't know what you get paid. So now we're going to put in cell A18. We're going to put, A17. We'll put total. And that's the total of all the expenses. Now you're going to select cell B17. Hit equals sum. Equals sum, begin parentheses. Now, what that does is it activates a function. You can select all of these above it, all the cells above it, and then hit enter, and then it'll sum up everything above it. And it says 3,450. Now, clearly the amount that I have in the bank account right now is not going to cover the total expenses for this first third of the month. So I'm going to be in the negative already. So that's no good. So one of 2 things has to happen. Before you implement your budget into practice, you have to have a sufficient amount in your bank account already to cover these expenses. Let's assume you do. So let's put 4,000 in the bank account right now, just for sake of clarity here as we move forward. And now you'll put difference in the cell below it. That's A20. And now you'll go to cell B20 and hit equals sum, begin parentheses. What do you think we should do here? We're going to take the amount that we have in the bank now and then hit the minus symbol. Let me move this closer. B19 minus, see? And now we're going to minus the total of all the expenses above it. Hit enter. See? Now we have 550 left over. Okay. So now, the second third of the month, let's just assume that there's 250 allocated for gas then, and also another 250 allocated in the third third of the month, which may or may not all be utilized. We're just going to put in an amount there. Utilities, let's say that there's another $500 worth of utilities that occurs in the second part of the month. Let's say that there's some more debts at the second third of the month that are worth $250. Okay, tithing, we could put 100, or actually 200, and then another 100. Daycare, let's just say that's 600 a month. So everything else fleshes out. Now we'll go back down to the total. And this is cool. You can just hover above the bottom right hand corner of that highlighted cell. Click it and drag it to the right. And what that does is it does the very same function in that it has in cell B17, but it implements it for above itself and C, C2 through C16. So it just emulates the very same function. And now the same thing for everything above it in D. So throughout the month, the expenses get significantly lower. You can see it goes from 3450 to 1200 and then 350. So the amount in the bank now, after this, these expenses occur in the first third of the month, become 550. So now when you get paid on the 15th, this $2,000, you're going to want to build another function. Equals sum, begin parentheses, grab that 2,000, highlight that, hit the plus symbol, and then take whatever is left over from the first third of the month. Then hit enter. And that's the amount you have in the bank account on the 15th. Now, the difference will then be the same equation you did for cell B20, but in this particular column, column C, equals sum, begin parentheses, grab the amount now, subtract the total expenses above it, hit enter, and it's 1350. And now we'll do it again for column D, equals sum, begin parentheses, grab the amount on the 30th, plus the remainder from column C, hit enter. Now equals sum, begin parentheses, grab that cell, subtract the total above it, enter. So $3,000, you can highlight this red. 3,000 in this case is what you're left over in this month. Now what you do, you can, sorry. Now what you do is you can add worksheets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there's a total of 12. That is symbolic for 12 months in the year. Go back to the first sheet, rename that first worksheet JAN 2022. And rename all your worksheets. Actually, since it's July already, we can go ahead and just name this one August, right? Because we're in July right now. It'd be futile to try to consider this budget active right now. So we'll prepare for this one as August 2022. Let's start here. September. I'll just abbreviate shorter. Moving forward, just renaming them OCT 2022, so on and so forth. Okay, so I just renamed all of the worksheets, and I changed the first one to just AUG 2020. So this is in preparation for the beginning of next month, August 2022, sorry. So now what you want to do with your budget is go to the, just above the number 1 row, there's a box. It's got like a half fill on it. Just select that and it highlights everything. Now go to your keyboard, hit Control C, and that highlights everything. Okay, so that copies everything into memory temporarily. You'll see a little perimeter. All right, now you'll go into September. Now hit Control V, like Victor. And you can do that in each of the worksheets. Just keep doing that over and over. Control V. Oops. Probably have to go back there and grab it again. Control C. Where was I? April. What's this? To copy all cells from another worksheet to this worksheet. Make sure you paste them in the first cell. Okay. This is goofy. All right. There we are. For some reason, that particular worksheet was on a different cell. But anyway. Now go back to September 2022. And the only linking cell that you need is the amount in the bank account now. Cell B19, this one. So you can change that amount by making the function equals sum, begin parentheses. Now go in the previous worksheet, August, grabbing that final cell. That's the amount that was left over after all expenses in the month. And hit enter. It actually shifts back to the September 2022 account and shows you that you did not have enough money in the account to carry the expenses. It shows you that you're negative $450 because of the decision. Unfortunately, one of these has to go. So this is finding out and discovering that you are living beyond your means. Sure, you end up with $2,000 at the end of the month, but it's just going down and down and down. So you need to cut about $1,000 to stay at stasis. It's because you ended up with $3,000 at the end of August. Now you're ending up with $2,000 at the end of September. It's a negative trend line. So let's go back into August, because obviously this is in preparation again. We're not there yet. You need to cut tithing, I think. Unfortunately, right now, Jesus would understand. He wants you to be successful, but not broke, okay? Not in poverty. So let's eliminate all tithing for the moment. See what that does. Okay, now doing that actually brought you above. So you're at 50. It's still a negative trend, because we're going to go into October now and change that cell. Equals sum, begin parentheses. Go back into September, right? Because now we're going to go to September. Select that cell you end up with, hit enter. And it looks like you're still negative. You're negative 650 again in the month of October. So what this means is you got to cut more. Plus you got to take out this tithing for the month of October. See what that does. Still negative 550. All right, for the month of October. So what are we going to do? Let's go back to August, right? And re-examine our expenses here. We've got to cut some utilities, I believe, because you've got about $1,000 going into utilities. Let's re-examine who it is we're doing business with. We're on the phone with them. We're talking to them, discussing ways to maybe slim down our package that we have with them, maybe cutting back on energy expenses, going around the house, making sure that all the lights are off and we're not utilizing all of the energy during peak hours for APS or something like that. So let's just say we get that down to about 400 and then maybe 250, which is a pretty big cut. Let's re-examine what happens. Going to September. Okay, got about 3150 at the end of the month. We're not in the negative in the first part of the month. Going to October, we're still negative $200. So there's still a negative trend line. But remember, we did those cuts in August, right? We did those cuts in August. We said 400 and 250 for utilities in August. But we need to do that for the other months too. So September has to reflect those same changes, which means 400 for utilities, 250, right? You still with me here? Go into October and do the same thing for those cuts. 400 and then 250, right? And see what that did. Now let's go back to August and re-examine. Okay, so we've got $37.50 at the end of the month in August. September, going into September, we've got $3,500, still a negative trend. So we'll slowly but surely end up in the negative. In October, again, we're in the positive, but that trend line is negative. It's going down, down, down. There's still some cuts that need to be made somewhere. So maybe let's go back to August, right? The very first one. And then let's cut back on some gasoline expenses. We're not driving as much. So we'll take out that $250 at the end of the month. Let's go into September. We'll change that there too. Take that out. And now October. We'll change that there too. And now all of these cuts that we did is a conservative approach. It's what's expected of conservatives to do to adjust their budget. When you notice that you're living beyond your means, which is what this budget in Excel does, is it demonstrates that this is a visual aid for you to see what happens to your money before you spend it. So you're well informed to know how and where to make budget cuts. Now, you notice that if you go back into August, you've got 4,000 at the end. You go into September, you've got 4,000 at the end. You go into October, and you got 4,000 at the end. So this is a stasis. This means that you're neither making any money nor are you losing any money. You're living right down to the penny of living within your means. Let's just ride with this for a moment. Now let's go into November and change that cell. Equals sum, begin parentheses, go back into October, select cell D20, hit enter. And now remember, this new month of November does not reflect any of those cuts that we made. So we're going to have to go back and make those cuts for each of these months as we modify. This budget in Excel is going to keep you on your toes. So you're constantly re-examining each cell and how it accurately reflects your accuracy in the budget. So there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be some headaches that you go through, but always remember, doing this in advance, seeing how your money should react in advance, because all these months here haven't happened yet. These are all in preparation. This means you are in control and in charge of your money. This is true money management. So I'll continue to do this for each of the months ahead. Equals sum, begin parentheses, go back to November, select the end, hit enter. Again, making those changes in this particular month to reflect the accuracy of our budget. And all a budget is it's something that tells you how your constraints for what you have to operate in. This doesn't have much room, no wiggle room for any extra things. But that could change depending upon how much money you make in your month. So this is a drive to go out there and try to make more money somehow. Going back into December, selecting that month, hitting enter. And I'm just doing all these same adjustments to my account. And I'll do that for the rest of the months as I pause here. Okay, so I finished each month from August 2022 all the way to July 2023, and I just selected on it. And you see that you end up with the same amount according to this budget each time. And that means that you're neither making more money nor are you losing any money like we were at the beginning of this video. But what we did discover, at least during this video, is that we were living beyond our means by perpetually getting into the negative. But we did find out that we had to make some pretty tough decisions and make some hard cuts. And part of that was deciding to see where it was within our budget that we did have the ability to negotiate terms like utilities. Partly maybe speaking to the utility companies, seeing where you can make cutbacks or getting on programs. But the main part is your behavior. So if you can modify your behavior, like with APS energy use throughout the day, make sure that lights are off and maybe don't operate your energy sucking devices like appliances or microwaves or anything like that during peak hours. That's a big killer. So you want to be sure that you're modifying your behavior to operate those things, dishwashers, things like that, on off peak hours. Maybe that will make a difference to bring your bill down. Things that you might not be able to negotiate are your mortgage or your rent. Gasoline, that's a fixed price, and it's unfortunately only rising at this point. So and daycare, that's a fixed price. So those are things that you can't really negotiate. Debts and credit cards, you might be able to actually. You just contact your credit card and see if you can make, minimum payments. The whole secret to getting out of debt is to line up all of your debts from largest to smallest, pay the minimum on all of them except the smallest one. You want to throw any extra money that you might have at it, at the smallest one, to eliminate the smallest one first, because if you eliminate that monthly payment, you'll actually give yourself a raise by eliminating it and then not having to pay that $60 or $100 each month on it anymore. So you'll give yourself that much in a raise that you might then be able to roll into the next lowest debt and do the same thing. So it gets exponentially larger as time passes, the amount that you're able to allocate towards that lowest debt. And then eventually you'll sneak up on all of them and pay them all off and then become wealthy from your own income. And the only way that you can do that is by creating a budget in Excel that you can see in the future. August 2022 hasn't even happened yet. This is, again, all the preparation that goes into a budget and preparing for these months in the future, and trying to stick to your budget by operating only within the constraints that your budget suggests. That's all I got for today. Happy budgeting, and let me know your progress.